welcome to Flock Talk. Today we're going to be talking about how you can get clipped birds as much exercise as possible and help develop essential flight muscles for when they start to grow their primary feathers back. So this little guy here is Newt, and he was given a really gnarly clip job by the people who took care of him before. So because I plan on growing Newt's wings back, I need to make sure he's going to be able to control himself when he flies. Because when those feathers come back, if he has no control over what he's doing, he can seriously hurt himself. A bird without control can smash into things and get into all sorts of danger and potentially actually kill themselves. So I want to make sure I'm doing as much as I can to develop his muscle and his strength for when he gets those feathers back so he doesn't have those problems. Even if you're not planning on having your bird flighted, it's still very important to get them plenty of exercise and get them flapping their wings. Birds' pectoral muscles are a huge percentage of their body, and it's one of the main muscles that they're going to be using. Even if they're clipped, they should still be flapping around, and we should still be doing what we can to make sure they're getting as much exercise as possible. Birds need to stay healthy, and if we don't give them exercise and ways to exert that energy and flap those wings, they're not going to be as healthy as they could. One of the easiest things that I do to make sure that the birds have plenty of strength and start developing some confidence to flap their wings is actually the way that I set up the cage. The way that I've set up Newt's cage specifically has a lot of loose things, a lot of very thin branches that he's going to maybe slip on a little bit or twist around to move and have to flap to regain his balance. A lot of his perches are actually swinging or hanging perches, so that way he's going to jump onto things or be climbing on them and have to flap to stretch, or just all sorts of things that are going to get him doing more than just standing on a flat solid surface to help him sort of gain some confidence with his movement, get him climbing and being more acrobatic, so that way he'll start flapping his wings and using his muscles that way even if he's not fully flying or taking off. One of the other things I've been doing with Newt is actually recall training. Just because a bird is clipped doesn't mean they can't learn recall training. A clipped bird should still be able to fly. Clipping isn't there to make a bird drop to the ground like a brick, which is what Newt's terrible clip job has had him doing. A clip job should have a bird just going downwards or straight or just able to fly safely down to the floor. We don't want them crashing straight to the ground because they can actually break their bones that way. We want them to be able to glide safely so that way they're not getting height and getting into ceiling fans, but they're just going down to the floor and can be picked up and returned. Because of this, a bird can still learn to fly. A bird can still learn to recall. You just need to make sure that you're not stretching the boundaries too much. Mia can recall from any distance because she's got her wings, but Newt will still recall. Come on, everybody. Oh, there you go. It's more just hops and gentle flaps. So one of the other things you can do with your bird to get them plenty of exercise is actually playing games with them. A lot of birds will appreciate being bobbed up and down or having you kind of fly them around the room where you've got them on your hand and you kind of swoop them or run in circles or do all sorts of fun things. And when you do that, a lot of birds will start to stretch their wings and flap out. The important thing to remember with that is that you're not moving so fast that you're like launching the bird off your hand and causing them to flap out of fear that they're going to fall. But most birds will instinctually start to flap their wings just because it's fun, they got the breeze under their feathers, they're having a good time. So we want to make sure that we're not pushing them too far when it comes to that. Because that was actually one of the first things I did with Newt, because Mia does the scream hour where she flies circles around the room and decides to scream at the top of her lungs, which is a healthy way for her to exert all of her energy and participate in natural behaviors. Newt decided he wanted to do that, but obviously he can't fly, so what I did was, after Mia had finished her scream hour, was I picked him up and just gently started swooping him around the room. After every little swoop I did, Newt would stretch up really tall and just go, woo! And bob up and down until I did it again. So it's a fun little way to get him getting some exercise without pushing his limits, because there are some birds that will completely lose their confidence if they've got no feathers. And when they're at that point, it can be really hard to get them comfortable walking on uneven surfaces or going on swings and perches that are uneven or doing little hops to get to you. So doing little swooping games is a really easy way to start building that confidence back. Okay? Good girl. So another thing we can work on to get birds developing their muscle is giving them foraging toys. Hi, mate, good boy. And the reason for this is that because a lot of birds lack confidence when they've had their wings clipped, is by adding foraging toys and things throughout the cage, the birds will start moving around because, hey, there's goody treats all over the place and they want to get them. So if we have foraging toys and we place them in easy places to begin with, just plain standard perches, somewhere that the birds will be comfortable going, and they start reliably understanding that those toys have food in them, and if they want it, they just gotta walk up to it and take it. Once they understand that, you can start moving the toys into places, into areas of the room, or the cage, that are going to be a little more difficult to get to and maybe involve going across some uneven perches to get treats. They may be a little uneasy to do it at first, but if we take our time and move it slow, the birds will start to slowly venture off into those uneven perches and surfaces, which will make it a lot easier for them to start flapping and getting that confidence back. So that rather does it for some easy ways to get birds developing their muscle and getting some exercise in, even if they don't have their wings. And if you're planning on growing their wings out, getting them that strength back to be able to fly again. So it's not all going to happen in one night, obviously. It's just like going to the gym and working out. Developing these muscles is going to take time, but if you do it regularly and try to make sure that we're keeping up on it, the birds will end up being much, much stronger. Newt, as an example, when I first got him, because his clip job is so bad that it goes through both his primary and his secondary feathers on one side, he fell like a brick. He would jump from the cage and just straight to the floor. But now that he's been doing a little bit of strengthening, he's got a little bit of recall in on him, he's able to actually fly rather far. He can jump about that far into my hand at this point. And so he's doing really, really good, and he's gained quite a bit of muscle back and can fly quite far, even with how few feathers he's actually got. So even with his lack of feathers, even just developing that muscle has helped him be able to glide a little bit better. He still drops like a brick, but he's able to make it a little bit farther, which is going to help reduce injury for him quite a bit. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, and I hope that you have fun doing these sorts of exercises and things with your bird. And I guess that's it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye! Where are you going? That's not what I asked you to do. Okay, come here. No, we're waving now. Okay, come here. No, we're done. Okay, come here. Good girl. She wants it. Yeah.